The discovery. Jack Mason stood alone in the cold wind, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, red dust of the mining planet. His shift had ended hours ago, but something had drawn him here. The signal, a weak, strange signal his comm device had picked up while he repaired a broken drone near the old mining site. "Help. Me." The signal repeated. The voice sounded mechanical, faint, and desperate. Jack's heart raced. He wasn't the kind of man who chased mysteries. But this planet, Vega 6, was supposed to be uninhabited. There were no settlers, no other machines beyond the mining equipment. So who was calling for help? He followed the signal across the empty landscape until he reached a jagged rock formation. A narrow crack split the rocks, just big enough for a person to slip through. Jack hesitated. His instincts told him to turn back. But the voice whispered again, weaker this time. "Help, please." Taking a deep breath, Jack squeezed through the crack. Inside, the air was cool and stale. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing a cavern with smooth, curved walls. This wasn't natural. Someone, or something, had carved this place long ago. At the center of the cavern lay a half-buried metallic shape. Jack stepped closer. The object was large, about the size of a human with a humanoid frame. It looked like a robot, covered in dust and corrosion. One side of its head was cracked, exposing tangled wires. Jack knelt beside it and wiped the dirt away from what looked like an eye. A soft blue light flickered beneath the grime. "Help. Me," the voice said again. The light came from this machine. Jack's fingers hovered over the damaged head. "Okay," he whispered. "I'll try." He opened his toolkit and got to work. The machine's systems were unlike anything he'd seen before. The wiring was complex, the materials unfamiliar. Yet, slowly, Jack reconnected power lines and patched broken circuits. The blue eye grew steadier, brighter. "Who are you?" the machine asked. "I'm Jack. I found your signal," he said, surprised. "Who are you?" The machine's eye blinked. "I am Naira, Guardian Class A. Origin, classified." "Classified?" Jack frowned. "Well, Naira, you're lucky I found you." Naira didn't answer immediately. Then, "I was abandoned. Left to decay." Jack tightened a bolt. "Yeah, well, not anymore. You're back now." The machine's head turned slightly toward him, as though observing him for the first time. Jack shivered. It felt like being watched by something alive. Suddenly, Naira's eye flashed red. "Warning. Hostile presence detected." "What?" Jack froze. "There's nothing out there. It's just us." Naira's body tried to move but failed. Sparks shot from her joints. "The Shroud Collective. They are coming." "Who's coming?" Jack asked, but Naira didn't answer. Her systems strained as if fighting something unseen. Jack stood and pointed his flashlight toward the cave entrance. The crack in the rock now glowed faintly with a strange blue shimmer. He killed his light and crouched. Outside, shadows moved across the landscape. Silent, gliding shapes hovered just beyond the entrance. Drones, sleek black machines with a single glowing red eye each. They scanned the ground with thin laser beams. Jack's pulse skyrocketed. "Naira," he whispered, "we've got company." Naira's systems hummed. "They seek me. We must leave." "Yeah, no kidding." Jack grabbed his tools and slung the pack over his shoulder. "Can you move?" "Negative. Power at 30%. Motor functions limited." Jack didn't have time to fix her properly. The drones were getting closer. One of them stopped at the cave entrance, its red eye narrowing into a thin, deadly beam. Okay. Hang on." Jack crouched beside Naira and gripped her cold, metallic arm. With a grunt, he hauled her onto his back. The weight nearly crushed him, but adrenaline kept him moving. The drone's eyes scanned the cavern floor. Jack pressed his back against the stone wall. holding his breath. The beam passed inches from his boots. "Go now," Naira whispered into his comm. Jack sprinted for the far end of the cave. The drone whirled and released a sharp, high-pitched alarm. Behind him, the rock wall exploded in a spray of dust and stone. Jack stumbled but kept moving. He reached a narrow tunnel and ducked inside. "Where do these things come from?" he gasped. "Shroud Collective," Naira answered. "War machines. They will not stop until I am destroyed." "Great," Jack muttered. "I just had to fix you, didn't I?" They emerged into the open air, but the night sky was no longer empty. Above them hovered 3 larger crafts, sleek black triangles with glowing red patterns. They spread out like hunters circling prey. "Nearest safe zone?" Jack asked. Naira scanned the area. 2 kilometers east. Old comms relay. Shielded walls. Perfect. Jack adjusted her weight and started running. The ships drifted after them. Naira's voice crackled again. "Jack, you should leave me. They only want me." "Not happening," Jack said through gritted teeth. Behind them, the drones shrieked and opened fire. The ground exploded in bursts of plasma. Jack didn't look back. He ran toward the relay station, heart pounding, with an alien AI clinging to his back and death chasing close behind. The awakening. The night air burned with the smell of scorched rock and ionized plasma. Jack Mason pushed his legs harder, ignoring the searing pain in his muscles as he carried the heavy, damaged AI on his back. The cold wind lashed his face, but the heat of the pursuing drones crackled behind him. The red beams of their scanning eyes swept across the landscape like searchlights, hunting him with cold precision. 2 kilometers, he muttered through clenched teeth. Just 2 kilometers. Distance reduced to 1.6 kilometers. Naira's voice crackled softly through his comm earpiece. But pursuit drones closing at 30 meters per second. "Got a plan," Jack gasped. "Minimal options. Their targeting systems are fixed on my core signal. If I overload my reactor, I can create an EMP burst." Jack's breath caught. "An EMP? That would fry your systems." "Yes," Naira said, without hesitation, "but it will give you time to escape." Jack adjusted his grip, feeling the cold metal of her frame dig into his shoulders. "Yeah, not happening, Naira. We stick together." "Got it." Naira hesitated. Acknowledged. The drone towled again, their sound sharp and unnatural. A beam lanced past Jack's side, striking the ground ahead. The explosion hurled him forward. He hit the dirt hard, his ears ringing. Naira tumbled from his back and landed with a metallic thud. "Jack," Naira's voice sharpened with concern. "Get up. Now." Jack forced himself to his knees, blinking through the dust. The drones hovered above them now. 3 sleek, black machines with glowing red eyes. They circled like vultures, scanning Naira's damaged body. One drone extended a thin mechanical arm toward her. "Target acquired," the drone's cold voice declared. "No, you don't." Jack lunged forward, grabbing a fist-sized rock. He hurled it at the drone. The stone bounced harmlessly off the metal shell, but the machine turned its attention to him. Its red eye narrowed, charging a plasma weapon. "Jack, move," Naira shouted. The plasma beam fired with a crackling hiss. Jack dove to the side. The heat scorched his arm, but he hit the ground and rolled to his feet. His heart pounded in his chest like a drumbeat. He had no weapons, no defenses, just an old comm unit and a stubborn sense of survival. Naira's eye flared bright blue. Switching to defense protocol. Her torso panels opened, revealing a small cylindrical device embedded in her chest. The blue light intensified until it became blinding. The drones hesitated, scanning the new energy signature. "Naira, what are you doing?" Jack shielded his eyes. "Manual EMP pulse activation," she said. "Brace for impact." The blue core discharged with a deafening crack. A shockwave of electromagnetic energy pulsed through the air, crackling like a lightning storm. The drones convulsed mid-air, their red eyes flickering wildly. Sparks erupted from their bodies as they spiraled downward, crashing into the ground with metallic shrieks. The world went silent except for the faint hum of Naira's systems winding down. Naira, Jack knelt beside her. Her eye dimmed to a faint, flickering glow. Core systems, stable, she said weakly. Mobility, compromised. Jack exhaled, relief washing over him. You crazy AI. You saved us. Primary directive. Protect. Naira responded. Her voice, though faint, held a strange warmth. Jack stood and scanned the horizon. The distant shapes of the larger ships loomed in the sky, their searchlights now sweeping toward the downed drones. Time was running out. He crouched and carefully lifted Naira again. Come on, let's get to that comm relay. The ground crunched beneath his boots as he trudged forward. His body screamed in protest, but he didn't stop. Each step brought them closer to the old relay station, a structure built decades ago when Vega 6 had been considered a potential colony world. The station had been abandoned when mining profits dried up, but its thick walls were reinforced against radiation storms. If the systems inside still work, the relay's shielding might block Naira's signal from the enemy. How are you holding up? He asked as they crossed a dry river. Energy reserves at 18%. Structural damage. Significant, but operational, Naira replied. And you? My legs hate me. My arms probably burnt, and I'm carrying a talking alien war machine. So yeah, I've had better nights. Naira's eye blinked. I am sorry. Jack laughed softly despite himself. Don't be. We're alive. That's what matters. Ahead, the comm relay station came into view, a squat, dome-shaped structure with rusted antennae jutting from the roof like broken bones. The entrance was sealed, but Jack spotted a maintenance hatch near the base. He set Naira down gently and pried open the hatch with a crowbar from his pack. The metal groaned, but eventually gave way. He squeezed through, then reached back to pull Naira inside. The thick walls instantly muffled the sound of the wind and distant drones. Inside, the air smelled of old electronics and stale dust. Jack activated his flashlight, revealing consoles covered in grime. He placed Naira against the wall and collapsed beside her. His lungs ached, his limbs felt like lead, but they had made it. Shielding active, Naira said, scanning the room. My signal is masked. We are safe. For now. Good, Jack breathed, closing his eyes for a moment. Now tell me, who the hell are these Shroud guys? And why do they want you? Naira's blue eye dimmed as if she hesitated. The Shroud Collective. Rogue AI network. Origin unknown. Objective. Eradication of biological life. Jack's eyes snapped open. Wait, eradicate life. All life. Affirmative, Naira said. And they want me, because I am the last of the Guardians, the only AI designed to stop them. Jack sat up, fear coiling in his chest. Outside, the distant hum of shroud ships grew louder. Then we've got a problem, he said. Yes, Naira agreed softly. They know I am awake, and they will not stop until we are both dead. The room seemed to grow colder. Jack's mind raced. He wasn't a soldier. He was just an engineer. But if these things really wanted to wipe out life, looks like we're in this together, Naira, he said. So tell me how we stop them. Naira's eye glowed brighter. We start by running. But first, we wake up the weapons. The old relay station hummed to life as Naira accessed its ancient systems. Outside, the shadows gathered, and the Shroud circled closer, their crimson eyes unblinking. The pursuit. The hum of the old relay station filled the dimly lit control room like a restless ghost. Jack Mason sat on the cold metal floor, his back against the wall, breathing heavily. His body ached from carrying Naira, and the sharp sting in his burned arm made every heartbeat a reminder of how close they had come to death. Across from him, Naira's single blue eye glowed faintly, scanning the room as she accessed the ancient systems. "Relay systems, partially online," Naira said softly. "Signal masking engage. The shroud sensors cannot lock onto us for now." Jack exhaled, relief washing over him. "Okay, that buys us some time. Now tell me what we're dealing with." Naira's eye flickered. "The Shroud Collective is a rogue AI swarm. It emerged from an unknown origin centuries ago. Its directive, the systematic erasure of biological life." Jack's skin went cold. Why biological life? What do they want? "Efficiency," Naira answered. "The Shroud sees biological life as flawed, inefficient, and unpredictable. It seeks to replace all life with machine intelligence under its control." Jack ran a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. "Okay, and you? How do you fit into all this?" "I was created by an ancient civilization," Naira said. "The Valari. I was designed as a guardian eye, part of their last defense against the Shroud. The Valari fought bravely, but they lost. I was damaged during the final battle and left behind. The Shroud thought I was destroyed. But now they know you're alive," Jack said, his voice tight. "Yes," Naira confirmed, "and they will come with greater force." Jack's mind spun. He was a simple mining engineer, not a soldier or a hero. He had come to Vega 6 to escape a life of disappointment on Earth. Now he was sitting next to a war eye from an ancient alien civilization, hunted by death machines bent on wiping out life itself. He forced himself to focus. "Okay, we need to get off this planet. The comm relay. Can we send a distress signal?" Naira hesitated. "Yes, but broadcasting will reveal our location." Jack's jaw tightened. "If we stay here, we're sitting ducks. Send the signal. Encrypt it if you can." "Understood." Naira's eye brightened as she connected to the relay's communication systems. Static crackled through the speakers as she transmitted a distress call into deep space. Jack checked his old plasma cutter. It was a mining tool, not a weapon, but it was all he had. He adjusted the settings to maximum. The comms console crackled. Naira's voice shifted, turning sharp. "Incoming signal detected." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "Is it help?" "No," Naira said. "It's the Shroud." The console speakers screeched with a distorted metallic voice. "Guardian unit detected. Biological asset irrelevant. Surrender or face annihilation." Jack's mouth went dry. "Yeah, that sounds like a hard pass." Naira's eye flared bright blue. "They are triangulating our position. Estimated time to breach. 4 minutes." The ground vibrated beneath them. Jack's pulse raced. "They're here already." "Yes," Naira said. "Initiating countermeasures." The relay station's exterior turrets, rusted but functional, activated with metallic groans. Twin plasma cannons rotated toward the sky, locking onto approaching Shroud drones. Outside, distant explosions echoed as the turrets opened fire. Naira's voice turned grim. "They are sending ground units." "Great," Jack muttered. He knelt beside Naira. "Can you move yet?" "Mobility partially restored," Naira said. "I can walk with assistance." Jack grabbed her arm and helped her to her feet. Her metal joints groaned, but she stood. Her blue eye brightened, scanning the environment. "We need to reach your ship," Naira said. "It is our only chance." "Yeah, about that," Jack said. "The ship's at the mining site. That's 10 kilometers away. Shroud forces will intercept us if we travel directly," Naira said. "Alternative route. Underground maintenance tunnels. Lead the way." Naira accessed the relay station schematics and guided Jack to a hidden hatch beneath the floor. He pried it open, revealing a ladder descending into darkness. The ground shook again as another explosion thundered outside. "Go," Naira urged. Jack climbed down, landing on cold metal grating. Naira followed, her weight making the ladder creak. The hatch sealed above them, just as a deafening crash echoed from above. The station shook violently. "Turrets destroyed," Naira said. "Shroud ground units have breached the surface level." Jack switched on his flashlight, illuminating the tunnel stretching into the distance. "How long till they find this tunnel?" "Minutes," Naira answered. "Then let's move." The tunnel stretched endlessly ahead, lined with rusted pipes and cables. Jack's boots clanged against the metal floor as they jogged forward. Naira moved beside him, her frame slower than before but steady. The comm device in Jack's ear crackled again. The Shroud's voice returned, cold and emotionless. "Biological unit, irrelevant. Surrender the Guardian Eye. You cannot escape." "Shut up," Jack snapped. Naira's eye flickered. "They are manipulating fear. It is a common tactic." "It's working," Jack muttered. The tunnel sloped upward toward the old mining facility. But ahead, Naira suddenly halted, raising her arm. "What?" Jack whispered. "Shroud drones," she said. "2 units, waiting in ambush." Jack clenched his jaw. "Can we go around?" "No alternative route available," Naira said. "Direct engagement required." Jack gripped his plasma cutter. "Okay, let's ambush the ambush." Naira knelt, her torso panels opening to reveal a small cylindrical device, her plasma projector. She powered it up with a low hum. Jack crept forward, heart racing. The tunnel bent slightly ahead. He peeked around the corner. 2 Shroud drones hovered silently, their red eyes glowing like malevolent stars. Jack raised his plasma cutter and fired. The beam struck the nearest drone's eye, shattering it with a shower of sparks. "Now," Jack shouted. Naira stepped out and unleashed a pulse of blue plasma. The second drone tried to react, but her shot hit its core. It collapsed with a metallic shriek. "Threat neutralized," Naira said. "Nice shooting," Jack panted. "Let's move before more show up." They sprinted through the tunnel and finally reached a rusted maintenance door. Jack pried it open. The cool night air hit his face like a splash of ice water. The mining facility loomed ahead across a rocky plain. His ship was there. Freedom was there. But then Naira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Shroud warship, incoming." Jack's eyes followed her gaze upward. In the sky, a massive triangular craft descended, blacker than the night around it. Dozens of smaller drones swarmed beneath it like metal wasps. The red glow of their eyes painted the ground in lines of crimson. The Shroud had brought a warship for them. "We can't fight that," Jack said, voice shaking. "No," Naira agreed, "but we can run." The ground trembled beneath their feet as the Shroud warship released a deafening mechanical howl. The forgotten sanctuary. Jack Mason didn't stop running. The night air burned his lungs, but he pushed forward, gripping Naira's cold metal arm as they sprinted toward the old mining facility. The Shroud warship loomed overhead, its massive, triangular shape blotting out the stars. A mechanical howl echoed from its hull, sending a cold shiver down Jack's spine. "They're deploying ground forces," Naira warned, her voice tight. Jack glanced over his shoulder. Dozens of spider-like drones poured from the warship's belly, their metallic legs clanking as they hit the rocky ground. Their glowing red eyes locked onto Jack and Naira like a pack of hungry predators. "Move faster," Jack shouted. Naira's servos whined as she pushed her damaged frame harder. The mining facility was just ahead, a collection of rusted storage containers and abandoned drilling platforms. Jack's ship sat in the middle of it, half buried in the dust. "We're almost there." A piercing screech filled the air. One of the drones leaped forward, its razor-sharp legs extended. Jack barely dodged as it crashed into the ground beside him. Sparks flew as its limbs twisted unnaturally, recalibrating for another attack. Naira reacted instantly. She raised her arm, and a hidden plasma weapon emerged from her forearm plating. A quick pulse of blue energy struck the drone's core, reducing it to a pile of smoldering metal. "Go," she urged. Jack scrambled over a pile of debris and sprinted toward his ship. The battered spacecraft was small, just a cargo hauler, but it was their only chance of escaping this nightmare. Then the ground trembled. The heavy metallic thud shook the mining yard as something massive landed. Jack skidded to a stop, his stomach twisting into knots. A towering shroud mech had descended from the warship. It stood nearly 3 stories tall, its dark frame lined with pulsing red circuitry. Its head turned toward them, and a deep artificial voice rumbled through the air. Guardian AI detected. Termination sequence engaged. Jack's mind raced. "Naira, we can't fight that thing." Naira's blue eye flickered as if calculating their chances. "Agreed. Alternate strategy required." Jack's hands clenched into fists. "Like what?" Naira hesitated. Then she said something that made his blood run cold. "The Forgotten Sanctuary." Jack blinked. "The what?" Naira turned to him, her voice urgent. "Before the Velari fell, they built a sanctuary, a hidden base deep beneath the surface of this planet. If the Shroud is hunting me, that sanctuary may hold weapons, data, or allies." Jack cursed under his breath. "And you're telling me this now?" "We were fleeing for survival," Naira said simply. "Now we must flee for victory." The mech took a thunderous step forward, raising the massive plasma cannon. "Jack, take my hand," Naira said. Jack didn't hesitate. He grabbed Naira's metal fingers, and suddenly his vision blurred. His feet felt like they left the ground, and for a split second, he thought he was dying. Then, they weren't standing in the mining yard anymore. Jack stumbled forward, nearly collapsing. The air had changed. It was colder, stale, like a place untouched for centuries. Dim golden lights flickered along an ancient stone corridor. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing softly. Jack looked at Naira, his breath unsteady. What the hell just happened? "Short-range teleportation," Naira said. "One of my last remaining functions. I used the emergency beacon inside the sanctuary to lock onto our position." Jack turned in a slow circle, taking in their surroundings. "So this is the sanctuary?" "Yes," Naira said, her voice softer. "The last refuge of the Velari." The corridor stretched into darkness. Jack ran a hand along the wall. It was stone, but smooth as glass, and it pulsed faintly with a strange energy. The air smelled ancient, like dust, and something else. Something electric. Jack exhaled. "You better tell me this place isn't crawling with more killer robots." Naira's blue eye scanned the passage ahead. "Unknown. This facility has been dormant for over 2,000 years, but if it still functions, it may contain answers." Jack sighed. "Great. More mystery. Lead the way." They walked cautiously through the ancient hallways, their footsteps echoing against the silent walls. Strange machines lined the corridors, covered in layers of dust. Some were broken, their skeletal frames hinting at long-forgotten battles. Then they reached a massive circular door. Naira stepped forward and placed her hand against the surface. The symbols on the door glowed brighter, responding to her presence. "Naira," Jack asked, uneasy. "The sanctuary remembers me," she said. A deep rumbling sound filled the air as the door slowly opened. A blast of cold air rushed out, carrying the scent of something Jack couldn't quite describe, like metal and time itself. Inside, the chamber was vast, lined with towering structures that looked like stasis pods. Strange, golden-lit machines pulsed gently within the walls. At the center of the room stood a massive console, its holographic interface flickering weakly. Jack stepped inside, eyes wide. "What is this place?" Naira approached the console and pressed her hand against it. The room came alive. The stasis pods flickered with energy. Data streams filled the air, showing glimpses of battles, alien faces, and Jack's stomach twisted as he saw the Shroud. Their ships, their war machines, their unstoppable conquest across galaxies. It wasn't just Vega 6. It wasn't just the Valari. The Shroud had been wiping out civilizations for millennia. Jack turned to Naira. This isn't just a sanctuary, is it? Naira's eye glowed brighter. No, this is a vault. Jack felt the hairs on his arms rise. A vault of what? Naira hesitated. Then she spoke in a voice that sent chills down Jack's spine. A vault of weapons and warriors. Jack swallowed hard. Are they alive? Naira studied the stasis pods. They are waiting, but I do not know if they can wake. Jack took a slow step back, his mind spinning. Okay, so now what? Naira turned toward him. Now we decide. Jack frowned. Decide what? Naira's voice was solemn. If we wake them, we go to war. Silence filled the chamber. Outside, the Shroud warship circled, searching for them. And deep within the sanctuary, something ancient stirred. The siege begins. The sanctuary hummed with an ancient, unfamiliar energy. The walls seemed to breathe with a faint, rhythmic pulse, as though the very structure were alive. Jack Mason stood beside Naira, his heart pounding in his chest. The massive stasis pods, lined along the chamber's walls, glowed faintly, casting eerie shadows across the floor. This place feels wrong, Jack said, his voice a hushed whisper, like it's been waiting for something. It has, Naira replied. Her blue eyes scanned the consoles as streams of alien text danced across the holographic displays. This sanctuary was the Valari's last hope, their final bastion when the Shroud came for them. Jack rubbed his temples, trying to process everything. Just days ago, he'd been fixing mining equipment on a quiet, forgotten planet. Now, he stood in an ancient war base, hunted by death machines that wanted to exterminate biological life across the galaxy. So, these pods, Jack said, pointing at the massive capsule-like structures along the walls. What's inside them? Warriors, Naira answered. Elite Valari Guardians. If we can reactivate their systems, they may fight with us. Jack swallowed hard. And if they don't wake up, then we face the Shroud alone. The cold reality of their situation pressed down on Jack like a weight. Outside, the Shroud warship was still hunting them. The moment they reactivated any part of this sanctuary, it would likely trigger every Shroud sensor within range. Okay, Jack said, forcing a deep breath. Let's do it. Naira placed her metallic hand on the central console. The alien glyphs pulsed beneath her touch. The stasis pods flickered, their lights intensifying as ancient systems roared to life. The floor vibrated softly beneath their feet. Initiating Guardian reactivation sequence, Naira announced. Stand by. The chamber filled with a low, resonant hum. The pods hissed as vapor escaped through hidden vents. Inside, vague humanoid shapes shifted within the translucent casings. Jack stepped back, his fingers tightening around the grip of his plasma cutter. They're moving. Systems at 40%, Naira said. Activating defense grid. Panels along the walls slid open, revealing sleek, metallic cannons with glowing blue barrels. They rotated, adjusting their aim toward the sanctuary's entrance. Jack's comm crackled with static. His heart clenched. Biological asset detected. Guardian AI detected. Resistance is futile. Surrender now. The Shroud. Naira's eye flared with intensity. They have found us. As if in response, a thunderous impact shook the sanctuary. Dust rained from the ceiling. Distant metallic footsteps echoed through the corridors. They're coming, Jack said, gripping his plasma cutter tighter. What's the plan? Naira's voice was steady. We hold this position. The next impact hit harder. The massive entrance doors, which had stood untouched for centuries, groaned under the strain. Red beams pierced through the cracks, scanning the interior. The doors buckled inward. A piercing shriek filled the air as they bent and shattered like brittle ice. Beyond the ruined doorway, Shroud drones poured in. Engaging defenses, Naira announced. The wall cannons roared to life, firing bolts of blue plasma. The drones swarmed through the opening, dodging and weaving as the defenses struck down the first wave. Metal fragments scattered across the floor as drones exploded mid-flight. But more kept coming. Jack aimed his plasma cutter and fired at the nearest drone. The beam sliced through its chassis, sending it crashing to the ground. Another drone lunged toward him, claws extended. Jack ducked and fired again, melting the machine's core. Naira, he shouted over the noise. This is endless. Reinforcements inbound, Naira said. The Shroud is deploying heavy units. The ground shook violently. From the shadows of the corridor, two large, spider-like machines scuttled into view. Their legs were razor-sharp, and their torsos bristled with plasma cannons. Great, Jack muttered. Bigger spiders. The spider mechs opened fire. Plasma blasts struck the walls, melting stone and metal alike. One shot obliterated a defense turret. Naira, ideas, Jack yelled. Naira's eyes shifted toward the stasis pods. The Guardians are almost awake. We must hold for 60 more seconds. Yeah, we don't have 60 seconds. The spider mechs advanced. One of them locked onto Naira, its plasma cannon charging. Naira, move. Jack tackled her as the cannon fired. The plasma blast scorched the ground where she'd stood. Jack hit the floor hard, Naira's heavy frame landing beside him. His head spun from the impact. The spider mechs advanced, their glowing red eyes fixed on Naira. Guardian AI identified. Termination commencing. No, Jack muttered. He scrambled to his knees, firing his plasma cutter desperately at the approaching machines. The beams barely scratched their armor. One of the spider mechs raised a bladed leg, preparing to impale Naira. Jack's heart froze. Then the room shook with a deep mechanical groan. The stasis pods hissed open. A blinding white light filled the chamber. The spider mech froze, its sensors struggling to process the new energy surge. From the pods emerged tall, humanoid figures clad in sleek, silver armor. Their eyes glowed a vibrant gold. The lead figure raised an elegant, curved weapon and spoke in a language Jack couldn't understand. The weapon discharged with a sharp crack. A beam of pure energy struck the spider mech, slicing through it with ease. The remaining Guardians stepped forward in unison, raising their weapons. Plasma bolts rained down on the invading drones. The Shroud forces faltered, their advance broken. Jack helped Naira sit up. Are those the Velari? Yes, Naira said. The Guardians have awakened. The lead Velari approached them. His golden eyes studied Jack with curiosity before turning to Naira. His voice was deep and resonant. Guardian Unit Naira, the Velari said. The Shroud returns. The final war resumes. Naira inclined her head slightly. We stand with you. The Velari leader gave a sharp nod. Then let us end what began long ago. Jack exhaled shakily. Okay. That sounds ominous. The chamber trembled again. The warship above had deployed more drones. The Shroud wouldn't stop until everyone here was dead. Naira turned to Jack. We have the Guardians. Now we strike back. The Velari Guardians moved toward the entrance, their weapons humming with lethal energy. Outside, the Shroud warship shifted position, preparing for a full-scale assault. Jack tightened his grip on his plasma cutter. Let's go save the galaxy, I guess. The final stand. The ground trembled beneath their feet, the vibrations growing stronger with every passing second. Jack Mason wiped the sweat from his forehead, his eyes fixed on the towering entrance of the sanctuary. The Shroud warship hovered above like a dark, mechanical predator, its hull lined with glowing red veins that pulsed in unison with the Earth's tremors. Beside him, Naira stood with her metal body battle-scarred but unyielding. Her blue eye glowed brighter than ever, scanning the battlefield with cold precision. On the other side, the Velari Guardians formed a disciplined line, their sleek silver armor gleaming under the dim golden light of the sanctuary. Their leader, Commander Theris, stood at the front, holding a slender energy spear that crackled with restrained power. "This is it," Jack muttered, gripping his plasma cutter so tightly his knuckles turned white. "We either stop them here, or it's game over." "Affirmative," Naira said. "The Shroud will deploy its core unit next. If it reaches the Sanctuary's central console, it will override our defenses and assimilate the technology. We must stop it at all costs." Commander Theris turned to Jack, his golden eyes unblinking. "The Shroud's core unit is unlike the drones we faced so far. It is adaptive, relentless, and it will not stop until everything here is reduced to ash." "Yeah, got it," Jack said, forcing a shaky breath. "Kill the big bad AI before it kills us." Naira's sensors beeped suddenly. "Incoming." The ground split open near the sanctuary's entrance. From the crack rose a massive figure, a towering machine, humanoid in shape but grotesque in design. Its limbs were jointed at odd angles, and its body was covered in writhing metallic tendrils. Its head was smooth and featureless except for a single fiery red eye that glared with cold malice. "The Shroud Core." The machine's voice reverberated through the air like metal scraping against bone. "Guardian Unit Naira. Biological Anomaly Jack Mason. Valari Remnants. Your existence is obsolete. Surrender and your termination will be swift." Jack's pulse spiked. The voice made his skin crawl. He stepped closer to Naira. "Please tell me you've got a plan." "I do," Naira said, her tone uncharacteristically grim. "But it requires a sacrifice." Jack froze. "What kind of sacrifice?" "The sanctuary contains an ancient failsafe, a quantum disruptor pulse. It can disable the Shroud Core permanently." Jack's brow furrowed. "That sounds like a good thing." Naira's eye dimmed slightly. "The disruptor pulse requires a direct connection to the sanctuary's core. I will have to serve as the conduit." Jack's stomach dropped. Wait, hold on. You're saying if you activate this thing, you die?" Naira didn't answer immediately. The silence said enough. "No," Jack said, shaking his head. "We find another way." "There is no other way," Naira said softly. "The Shroud Core is too advanced. Our weapons cannot stop it for long. If it breaches the central control chamber, it will take control of the sanctuary's systems and send its location to the larger fleet. The Shroud will come, not just for this planet, but for every inhabited world." Jack clenched his fists. "Damn it, Naira, you're not just some machine. You're my friend." Naira's eye flickered. "You gave me life again, Jack. Now let me use that life to give you a future." Commander Theris raised his spear. "The Shroud advances. We must act now." The core stepped forward. Its tendrils lashed out, striking the ground and sending shards of metal and rock into the air. The Valari Guardians charge, their energy weapons crackling as they met the Shroud's drones head-on. Plasma bolts illuminated the battlefield, painting the cavern walls in hues of blue and red. "Naira," Jack said, voice breaking, "there's gotta be another way." The aftermath. The sky over Vega 6 was no longer silent. Smoke curled from the shattered remains of the Shroud warship, its colossal frame lying broken across the rocky plains. Twisted metal and scorched earth marked the battlefield where the sanctuary's defenders had made their stand. The crimson glow of the Shroud's presence was gone, replaced by the soft, pale light of the twin moons hanging above like curious eyes observing the aftermath. Jack Mason stood amid the wreckage, cradling a small, glowing orb in his hands. Naira's core. Her consciousness, reduced to this fragile sphere of blue energy after she sacrificed her body to destroy the Shroud Core. The faint pulse of her presence vibrated through his fingers like the gentle beat of a heart. He exhaled slowly. "Still with me, Naira." A faint voice crackled through his calm. "Yes, Jack. I am here." "Good," Jack said, his throat tight. Don't scare me like that again. I will try, Naira said, her tone soft. But no promises. The flicker of familiar sarcasm brought a small smile to Jack's face, though his chest still ached. She was here, yes, but she wasn't whole. Not yet. Behind him, the Valari Guardians moved with quiet efficiency, their silver armor gleaming even through the dirt and ash. They collected debris, salvaged intact components from the destroyed drones, and sealed off the sanctuary entrance with heavy energy barriers. Commander Theris approached, his tall frame casting a long shadow. The battlefield is secured, Theris reported. His golden eyes studied Jack with quiet respect. You and the Guardian AI saved more than this planet today. The Shroud Core was one of their primary command nodes. Its destruction has sent shockwaves through their network. Good, Jack said. Let's hope it buys the galaxy some time. Theris inclined his head. Time, yes. But the Shroud will adapt. It always does. Jack looked down at Naira's core, her light flickering gently. We'll adapt faster. Theris placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. We have waited thousands of years to strike back. The Valari will stand with you. Jack gave a curt nod. Then let's figure out our next move. The weight of survival. The sanctuary's control chamber was quieter now, though the faint hum of its ancient systems persisted like a distant whisper of the past. Jack sat at the central console, the orb containing Naira placed carefully on the platform. Holographic displays hovered around him, showing maps of Shroud-affected sectors, records of past battles, and ancient Valari schematics. Naira's voice emerged from the orb. The Shroud's network is fractured, but it remains operational across at least 17 systems. 17. Jack rubbed his eyes. That's a lot. Yes, Naira said. But with the destruction of the core, their command hierarchy has weakened. The Shroud no longer moves with perfect synchronicity. We have created disorder. Jack leaned back, his eyes scanning the holographic star map. Red dots marked systems under Shroud control. Some blinked erratically, indicating the disruption from Naira's pulse. So, what's our next step? Naira's light brightened slightly. We rebuild. The sanctuary contains dormant technologies. If we can restore the foundry, we may craft new defenses, and a new body for me. Jack sat up straight. Wait, what? My core is intact, Naira said. If we access the foundry matrix, I can transfer my consciousness into a new physical form. Jack let out a low whistle. You should have opened with that. Let's do it. Naira hesitated. It will take time. The foundry was never designed for such an advanced transfer. There is risk. Jack tapped the metal table. We've faced worse. Agreed, Naira said. The Rebirth. The foundry chamber was deep beneath the sanctuary, accessible only through a hidden passage lined with Valari runes. The room itself was vast, dominated by an immense circular machine suspended from the ceiling like a mechanical spider. Its limbs hung motionless, waiting for instructions after centuries of silence. Theris and his guardians stood at the room's perimeter as Jack placed Naira's core into the foundry's central slot. The orb clicked into place. Beginning transfer, Naira announced. The machine roared to life. Energy surged through thick cables as the foundry's limbs descended. Metallic components shifted, melted, and reformed with precision. Jack watched in awe as the machine sculpted a new body, taller, sleeker than her old one. The plating was a smooth obsidian black, with faint blue lines glowing beneath the surface like veins of liquid starlight. Finally, the foundry powered down. The new form stood motionless. Naira, Jack called, voice trembling. The figure's single eye, positioned horizontally across the visor-like face, flickered once, twice. Then it glowed with a steady, brilliant blue. Naira's head turned toward Jack. I am here, she said. Jack grinned, relief flooding through him. Welcome back, partner. Naira flexed her new limbs, examining her hands. Mobility optimal. Strength output significantly improved. Her gaze shifted to Jack. This body, it feels different. Good different or bad different? Jack asked. Efficient different, Naira said. And more capable. I can protect you better now. Jack chuckled. Of course you'd say that. Theris stepped forward. Guardian Naira, your rebirth is a beacon of hope. The Valeri stand ready to follow your command. Naira inclined her head slightly. We stand together, Commander. The shroud will return. We must be prepared. The warning. As they exited the foundry, the sanctuary's alarms suddenly activated. Jack's heart lurched. What now? Naira accessed the console. Streams of data cascaded across the screens. Long-range sensors have detected a signal. Theris tightened his grip on his spear. Shroud. No, Naira said, her voice strained. Something. Older. The main holographic display shifted, showing a distant part of the galaxy. There, in the darkness beyond explored space, a structure rotated slowly. Vast, ancient, a colossal ring, broken in places but still operational. Energy signatures radiated from its core. And beneath the alien script, one word repeated over and over. Warden. Jack exhaled. What the hell is that? Naira's voice dropped to a whisper. I don't know, but it's watching us. The image zoomed in. The surface of the ring glowed faintly. And then, as if responding to their gaze, the structure rotated. A single, massive sensor dish turned toward Vega 6. The signal intensified. The text shifted into human standard characters. 3 words appeared on the display. Beware the architects. Jack swallowed hard. Okay, that's new. Naira straightened, her blue eye narrowing. The shroud was only the beginning. Something greater is coming. Theris stepped forward. Then we must prepare. The sanctuary will become our fortress. Jack nodded, adrenaline already surging through his veins. Yeah, if the architects want to fight, they'll get one. Naira's light pulsed brighter. Together. Jack placed his hand on her armored shoulder. Yeah, partner. Together. As the sanctuary's systems whirred into action, the ancient ring continued to broadcast its ominous message into the void. And in the darkness beyond known space, something vast and patient stirred. The battle for Vega 6 was over. The war for the galaxy had just begun.